First of all, hi Bill, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you. This is an easy question, maybe. Do you recall the first record that you ever bought?
First record I ever bought. I think it was the Dead Kennedys, In God We Trust. That's what I remember. I'm sure I had records before that, but I remember distinctively going out and buying that record.
And well, this one is wedged in your memory, so why this record at that time?
Because I was a huge fan of the Dead Kennedys, and all they had by them was a tape, Frankenchrist tape, that someone gave me at school when I was in high school. And I happened to be in a record store. Where I lived, there was no Dead Kennedys records. There was no section for that punk rock music at all. I grew up out in the suburbs, upstate New York, you know, they didn't sell that kind of stuff at the mall. So I happened to go into an independent record store in Newburyport, Massachusetts. Okay. And I was going through, they had all kinds of punk rock records, and I was just like, oh my God. I bought it, and I had to hide it from my parents.
Okay.
It had a kind of controversial cover.
What did this kind of music, and this album in particular, what did it do to you, for you?
It made me very happy. I don't know, it totally changed my outlook on music. Okay. You know, it was so dirty and I don't know, it was something like I've never heard before. Really fast and really dirty guitars and screaming and, you know, political lyrics, and it was just really, I don't know, it was so aggressive, and it just got me like, you know, banging my head and just like, like young teenager, just really into it. It was like rebellion, you know, it was like a rebellious record.
But yeah, as you mentioned, you had to hide it from your parents, and I suppose then in the community it wasn't something that was readily accepted. So how did that interest in this kind of music develop from that point on?
Well, I just kept buying more of their records, and you know, I was really into punk rock in the early 80s. Like Black Flag and Circle Jerks, the Sex Pistols, Bad Brains. Because to me, you know, I grew up listening to a lot of, like, you know, the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and Boston and Foreigner and all the crap that was on the radio. Right. It still is on the radio, like classic rock, you know. But I could never play that stuff. I listened to a lot of Rush and Yes, Van Halen. But I could never really play those songs, you know. Ozzy Osbourne, Randy Rhoads, you know, I was like, I can't play like that. So when I started getting into punk rock, that's right when I first got a guitar too. I could play like songs from the Ramones. There's only 3 chords, you know, so it just totally changed my outlook on music. I was like, oh, I can actually play this stuff. So, you know, punk rock music just made me realize that anyone can play music and make music and make art with the guitar, you know. So I just started maybe play guitar more. I started learning all these songs by all these punk rock artists.
And this accessibility, did it allow you immediately then to create your own music as well, or was it just? Yeah,
because as soon as I got my guitar when I was 15 years old, and my dad finally bought me a guitar, I started a band immediately. Okay. And it was all punk rock cover songs, and then we started writing our own songs. So that's how it all started.
That first band, were you any good?
Yeah, we were great. We were called Crinkle Pig.
Okay.
And yeah, we just did covers though, you know, we just for fun. And we started playing at, like, you know, my high school band night and stuff like that. So it was really fun back then. We had a singer who was really into punk rock as well, and he could sing like Jello Biafra from Dead Kennedys. Okay. So we had a good time with it.
And well, you mentioned the punk rock being as accessible as it is, but then with Mastodon, there's very much a progressive element. to it. So when did this part arrive for you?
Well, I listened to. I mean, so I was listening to punk rock for, I still do, but my tastes started to change. Maybe when I was like 18, 17, 18. I mean, I had a girlfriend who was really into like Peter Gabriel and Rush and King Crimson. Okay. So I'd always listen to that kind of stuff with her, and slowly. I wasn't really into Iron Maiden at the time. I like Iron Maiden now, but back then the vocals, I didn't like the vocals. And it was too many guitars, I think, going on at the time. I liked stuff really stripped down back then. But I guess when I first heard of Metallica, that's when my music and whole guitar rig and setup like totally changed. Okay. Because as soon as I heard Master of Puppets, I was like, holy shit, these guys are amazing. It's like classical music with electric guitars and drums. And I really liked the subject matter and I like the way the guys looked. I looked down the covers and I see like, oh, they're wearing like Misfits shirts and they got ripped jeans and they don't look like rock stars. They just look like me. They got like, same old jeans on and t-shirts. And I just felt like this kind of attraction to them, and of course ran out and saved up my money and bought a Gibson Explorer, white one, and bought a Marshall amp, and started, everything started changing then, because I had real gear, and I started learning some Rush songs. I could finally play them in my band. We wouldn't play them live, but we'd play them on the side, like at practice we would play. Closer to the Heart and songs like Xanadu off Farewell to Kings, and a lot of stuff off the first Rush record, which is very Zeppelin-esque. So I guess, all those influences started shaping the way I played.
And this was still in New York? Mm-hmm. And at what point then did the decision come to leave in New York?
It was in '97, and I was playing in a lot of bands, and I just wasn't really going anywhere, and I wanted to try a bigger city, try something new, and find some new guys to play with. So I moved down to Atlanta, where my wife was. Okay. Or she was my girlfriend at the time, but she was moving down there, so I moved with her.
And then, well, you probably told this story a lot of times, but then how did you meet the other guys? Because I think Bram was already with you.
Yeah, Braun and I played in a band called Lethargy together in Rochester, New York. That was very technical, very progressive, like metal band. But it wasn't much soul. There wasn't a lot of soul in the music, So I moved to Atlanta by myself with my wife and moved back to New York because I missed playing with those guys. And then Braun and I joined a band called Today Is the Day. And that was like near Boston, Massachusetts. So we moved there, toured with them, recorded a record with Today Is the Day, played in the band for about a year. And then when I quit, Braun and I both quit and we moved to Atlanta together. I said, why don't you move? I'm going to move back to Atlanta. And we had all these connections of people that we knew, people at Relapse, other bands, so they were very interested in what we were going to do next. And Brent and Troy, I kind of knew Brent from visiting Atlanta, and he really liked Today Is the Day. So I told him, I said, hey, I'm going to leave this band and come back to Atlanta. We should jam. And that's what happened. Okay.
And well, fast forward to the new album then. It's kind of a big fast forward, but in the interest of time. You mentioned earlier the stripped down, that you just like the stripped down guitar a bit more. In the last, it started I think with The Hunter already, but it's been said about this record as well that it's a bit more stripped down than what Mastodon used to be. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, I mean we kind of took any unnecessary riffs and parts out of the songs. when we were working on it, we're just like, let's just stick to like, if there's no singing over a part, what is it really doing in the song, you know? Which we become more and more stringent about stuff like that. You know, it's like, okay, well, this is the opening riff, and this is the verse, that's the chorus. What's this part? It's just a show off guitar part, or what? You know, why is it in the song? So we just throw it away, just get rid of it. So kind of made the songs a little more focused.
And do you know why this change well, direction is I think too big a word, but why this change came?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. It's just the progression of the band and our writing.